Hi, this is Ram Ramanathan, co-founder of Coacharya. This is a Coacharya coaching colloquium. Today is September 28th, 2017, and this is a series that we started at the International Coaching Week. Now it's probably about 4 months. We've had a milestone achieved this time. We had over 100 registrations with the Eventbrite that we went to. And we are hoping that by next year, when we have the International Coaching Week, we will have pretty much near 1,000. And a significant factor is that the whole purpose of this colloquium, at one level, is to provide ICF and other members with a continuous professional development, the CCEU, whatever it might be called in different parlance, the certification for you to be able to achieve it free of cost. At the same time, we would like to enlarge this to a much larger community of learning and development people, as well as those who are interested in leadership development. So today, we'll be giving out passwords at the beginning of each session, because these are important for those who want the CCEUs. And the recordings will be available on the site. You will have to go there to the Coacharya website, http://coacharya.com. And there's a colloquium page where you can access both the CCEU certification requests as well as the recordings. You can go through all the past recordings out there. They will all be compiled there as a safekeeping. And what we would like to request you is that from this time, it's been a lot of manual work for me to issue the certifications, prepare certifications. ICF doesn't really require such certifications. They require just an email confirmation that you have attended and we have issued a CCU. So we'll be mailing back to you with your mails. And please try and do that within a week at least, so that we can move on ahead to the next event. So over a period of time, we are going to automate it. So there's going to be a cutoff date at which point in time the CCUs will be entertained. After that, yes, we may be able to do it on exception basis, but it's going to become more and more of an administrative burden. That is so much the housekeeping. Before I go on to introducing Sridhar to you, the password, one half of the password for the session is Laxman, Laxman. The second half of the password I'll issue just a few minutes before we close, so that at least there is interest in all of you staying till the time we actually close. It's tremendously pleasurable for me to introduce Sridhar here. He was with us some about 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 2012, 13, if I remember right. And he moved away from a corporate job that he held, moved into full-time employment, a full-time engagement as a coach. He started up his own company. I remember the early days discussing with him several times, as I do with many coaches even today, that they honest how difficult is it for us to source clients. And obviously that's the biggest challenge that every aspiring coaching entrepreneur faces. And for some reason, I mean, we lost probably close connection for about a year or so, and then suddenly he reappeared on the scene. And then once when I was just Googling executive coach in Bangalore, Sridhar's name was there in the top of the list. I'm not quite sure whether it is still there on the top of the list. I think he's moved on from Bangalore to a global scene. So you'll have to look at the executive global leadership coaching to probably find his name. But it's been a tremendous journey to watch someone who's really expanded his coaching skills to include business development and used it extremely successfully. To the extent from time to time when I go to Sridhar, hey Sridhar, I've got a corporate assignment, would you be interested? Sridhar, with his inimitable smile and this beautiful smile on his face, would tell me, hey Ram, yeah, if you ask me, I'll do it. Certainly I'll do it. But I have so many engagements that I'm finding it difficult to cope with what I have. But yes, if you think that it'll be good for me and then I need to do it, I'll do it. It's the most wonderful thing that you can hear from someone that you have worked with and who's today a practicing coach, to be able to hear that, look, I'm doing so well that in the sense I don't have to be dependent on anybody. At the same time, he's one of those people who I know at his heart is tremendously helpful to people. So every time I have reached out to Sridhar with a request, will you please help somebody, talk to somebody? And he has always been available. So today, I truly take the pleasure of introducing Sridhar to you. He's, of course, a PCC coach. He's got a number of other certifications to his name, and eventually I'm hoping that he would work towards his mastery in coaching, because he's absolutely, totally capable of it, as many of you are. And today I just asked him to describe his journey in a pretty much a coaching competency format, as it were. Yeah, this is what I wanted to do. This was the sort of agreement that I had with myself. In a sense, it was even an agreement that he had with me, because he started working on a coaching model, how he would approach his business, etc., even when he was in coach training. And then how did he put it into action, and how did various coaching competency help him? How did he evolve as a coach? How did he develop his business? So I leave it to Sridhar for the next almost about an hour to continue with that. I'll take just the last 5 minutes. And in between, as always, if you have any questions to ask, please put them on the chat box and you can unmute yourself. But otherwise, please stay muted, because it would cause a disturbance to the recording that we have. Thank you. Thank you all very much. The password, starting password is Laxman, Laxman. The second half I would give you at the end of the program. Sridhar, all yours. If you could just tell us about your journey in detail.
Thank you, Ram. Appreciate that. Delighted to be here. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to people from wherever you're logging in. Absolute delight. I feel blessed of getting this opportunity to speak with all of you and share my own journey. I'm pretty passionate about what I do, and I feel sometimes I'm blessed, I'm lucky that I was able to find something that I resonate a lot with, something that seems to sit well with my core values, and I get to practice it every single day and get paid for it. So I truly feel blessed. It doesn't feel like work to me right now. So I'll begin. I'll share the journey, and feel free to stop and ask me questions along the way. Just want to quickly check if everyone can hear me. If there's anybody who can't, just put it in the chat box, number one. Number two, maybe as coaches, it might be good for all of us to take a moment, take a breath, and be fully present here. Switch off from everything else that's on our mind through the day. So let's spend maybe 10 seconds, take a few deep breaths, and be fully present. Okay, wonderful. Welcome back to all of you. So my journey began, the way I see it, my self-discovery journey began sometime in the year 2000. I had worked for about 10 years in the corporate world by then, between, I think, 92 to 8 years, 92 to about 2000. I was in my 30s, and like most of my clients, what I hear from them today, life was happening to me. There were small little challenges coming along the way, and I realized that there must be something more than just getting up and going to work. There has to be something deeper. There must be something more to it. Do I really know myself? And I think I picked up a book, started reading a little bit about getting to know yourself. If I'm not wrong, I picked up a book by Og Mandino, and I read it, and there's a little spark that came in within me. One thing led to the other, and before I knew it, I was completely immersed in reading. And I would spend a lot of my time reading books, trying to understand this whole journey called life. By 2008, 8 years further, I signed up with a coach in the US. And I worked with a coach for about a year. It cost me a packet then. I remember in 2008, I paid $5,000 for a 1-year assignment. We coached over the phone. Seemed a lot of money then. I think the dollar was about 40 or 43, but it still was a lot of money. Looking back, it's probably one of the best decisions I made. It was a wonderful journey. Coach helped me realize a lot of things that I needed to work on. The coach also helped me realize my own dreams and desires, and how I had some limiting beliefs and some fears I had to overcome. I remember writing down a lot of my goals then with my coach, and three goals stand out for me. One goal was that by 2012, I would be running my own coaching practice. And I remember writing this down in 2008, and I had no clue how I was going to start, where I would begin, how I would build a coaching practice. But that was one of the goals. I remember writing down 100 goals then. As I speak to you, I think I've achieved about 19 or 20 of them. I have another 80 to go. So that's the first part of my journey. So 2011 is when I quit my well-paying corporate job. Cushy, comfortable, those are the words I would use. I had a cabin, I had people reporting to me, I had all the perks that any corporate executive would get, a good reputation, people were loyal, I was continuing to grow and succeed. And something led me to just put in my papers and say, I'm going to move out. I didn't have a job in hand. I didn't have a single contract in hand. I didn't have a single client in hand. All I had done was register my company as a proprietorship, and I got started. So September 30th, I was going to work. I had colleagues around me. I had a place to go to work. October 1st, I woke up. My bedroom was my home office. All I had was a computer and a phone, and a dream or a desire that I want to be a coach. Fast forward to a few months, and I Googled and I read about Ram Ramanathan, and it was then called ABC, Association of Bangalore Coaches, if I'm not wrong. And they would meet at Christ College once a month, Ram, last Thursday, if I'm not wrong, last Wednesday or Thursday evening. So braving Bangalore traffic, I reached Christ College, and I was mesmerized by what was happening. There were about 20 odd coaches. Ram was there. And I as soon as I walked in, I sensed this is where I belonged. The people I met, the conversations I had with them, I realized this is where I belong. And I think for all the sessions that happened at ABC after that, barring one or maybe two, I've attended it, every single one of them. A wealth of knowledge came my way, meeting different coaches, meeting Ram, interacting with him. Along the way, of course, Ram spoke to me, asked me, where are you heading with this? Have you thought of a formal program to get certified, to gain formal knowledge? And so I enrolled with him, and it was a beautiful journey then with ICA and Ram. And 6 months later, I had graduated and I had got my PCC. I was still operating from home then. And I had picked up a few clients by then. And I'll walk you through that, how that happened. And I look back now, I recently completed 6 years. This is my 7th year. Time has just flown by. It's been a wonderful journey. I truly feel blessed that I've got an opportunity to coach people. What's even more exciting is I have clients around the world. As I speak to you, I've coached somebody in Finland, Germany, South Korea, US, Canada, Singapore, Qatar, Dubai, Nigeria, Kenya. Maybe I'm missing something. And of course, across cities in India. I never imagined it would pan out like this. And I'm delighted. I think every day when I end my day, when I do my gratitude prayer to myself, one of the things that I'm grateful for is access to technology that enables me to work with anybody, anywhere around the world. This wouldn't have been possible probably 10 years back. It is possible today. And I'm glad I'm doing this. So when individual coaches reach out to me and they speak and say, are we going to get enough clients? Is there enough market in India? I get them to take a deep breath and say, how many people exist around the world? 7 billion people. And you need a fraction of that every year reaching out to you for your services. We'll have to work hard to not have clients. The way I see it, there are enough and more clients waiting to seek services from coaches. And the entire globe is our market. So that's one portion of it. I don't see any questions, so I'm going to continue. So when I got started, 2 things helped me. And I look back and I think both were instrumental. One was having somebody like Ram around to reach out and to get clarity on how do you really get down in this practice called coaching. Which certification? How do you do it? What is the process involved? There was a lot of hand-holding, and I can't thank Ram enough for being there at that moment to walk me through the journey. So much so that when the program ended and I had got the formal certifications, I remember having conversations with Ram saying, is there light at the end of the tunnel? Will I get clients? Will this work for me? It's a lot of investment that I've made. And all I remember Ram saying is, stick to it. The clients will come. People are looking. You will find work coming your way. It just gets better and better. I haven't heard truer words than that, because it's turned out to be exactly that. And with all humility, like Ram said, I must admit that I have more inquiries today than I have time to follow up. So it's taken a while to get here, and I'll walk you through the process, what led to all of that. The other thing was, I think when I started off, a part of me was humble enough to reach out and ask for help when needed. I don't know if it's the way I've been brought up or it's something that I've picked up along the way, but that served me. I remember numerous times having questions and running into self-created roadblocks, and I would reach out. I would reach out and say, this is what's going on. I'm confused. What should I do? And there was always a wise person around, Ram, somebody else, who would always share some information that helped. So that's probably my first point that I want to emphasize. The power of asking. Please reach out and ask if you have questions. If you're not clear about something, reach out to somebody and ask, how can this be done? What else can I do? This is where I'm stuck. This is a line of work. This is a profession which is incredibly noble. And I think everybody's here to do something good, to help people. And helping people is not just prospects and clients, it's also other coaches. If I hadn't reached out and sought the help from Ram and a couple of other mentors, I don't think I would have reached where I have reached. I must emphasize. So please reach out. There's a book called The Aladdin Factor, if I'm not wrong. It's written by a speaker or a motivational speaker and a coach called Jack Canfield. That was one of the books I remember reading back in 2005 or so. It's called The Aladdin Factor. And the whole book is about the power of asking. And I'll tell you why this is important. Every time I mustered up the courage to ask for something, 9 out of 10 times I've got it. It's worked when I was in the corporate world. It's worked for me in my coaching work. It continues to work for me in my life. It doesn't mean I get everything I ask for, but it just enables me to be braver, bolder in going about and asking for what I believe I deserve. Most of it comes, some of it doesn't come. That's okay. What I've learned by this is how much more courageous I can be, how much more power I seem to have when I'm bolder, when I'm braver. And of course, there's so much wisdom around. It's a matter of just seeking out that wisdom from someone. Okay. So from there, when I look at it, I must admit I've had one big advantage when I moved into my own business, when I set up my own practice. I spent 20 years as a marketing professional in my corporate life. So I had enough background in marketing, advertising, brand building, business promotions, marketing strategy, business strategy. So I had that background, and it came of use to me when I stepped in and I said, okay, this is brand me. How do I promote myself? What do I want to stand for? How do I want to promote myself? And that was something that helped me there. I have spoken about this earlier in a couple of sessions, but I think it's important that I speak here too. I see many more coaches here, and some of them are probably listening to me for the first time. And this is an anecdote or an incident that happened, and it demonstrates how, even though we call ourselves coaches, we have our own biases which could come in our own way of success. In 2011, when I just stepped out of my corporate world and I had not yet met Ram, and I was calling myself a coach, newly minted coach. I've got a bunch of cards that I got printed. I had a very basic website in place, and I went about trying to get business. One of the first things I did was to sponsor an event. There was a motivational seminar, and I went and sponsored it, put some money behind it. So I got a bunch of forms from that event, and I started cold calling people, something that I didn't like then, but I did it. And that's probably, again, something I look back and I said, I'm glad I did those cold calling, because it led me to be comfortable with that act. So a certain person expressed interest and said, I'd like to be coached by you. And in the discovery session, I didn't call it discovery sessions then, but it's a get to know each other kind of conversation. That person mentioned that he's a coach and a trainer, and he would like to be coached by me. The first thing that kicked in my mind was, he's a coach, I coach him, he's going to get better than me, he'll take away my business, I won't have any business left. Should I coach him or not? And the reason I share this story every single time in a public forum is to illustrate how small my thinking was after 20 years in the corporate world, where day in, day out, all I'd learned was crush your competition, make it difficult for them to survive. And I walked into this space where there is no competition. There's only collaboration. So the person reached out and said, I want to be coached. And I was hesitating for this fear in me that, what if he gets to be better than me? Thankfully, a little bit of wisdom kicked in, and I reached out to a mentor, and I met her at a coffee place. We had coffee, and I said, look, this is what's going on. This was client number 2, sorry. And I told her, this is my second client, and this is the fear I have. And I remember she asked me just one question. She said, Sridhar, can anybody else be you? The first time she asked me, I didn't get the depth of the question. And I was trying to say, what do you mean, can anybody be me? I mean, I'm going to coach this guy. I'm going to share all my secrets, as if I had a lot of secrets, which I didn't. I had no knowledge of coaching other than what I'd read. Anyway, in the interest of time, so she repeated the question, and I got the essence of it. And she kind of emphasized it. She said, the way you are as Sridhar, with the knowledge you have, with the wisdom you have, with your life experiences, with whatever certifications or reading you have done, and the way you deliver something, can anybody else be you? And the answer obviously to me was no. And she said, what do you have to fear? Somebody's going to be their best version, but they can't be you, and you can't be them. That's all that she said. And I came back and I signed up the client, and I worked with the client. He was happy. After 6 months, he said, my wife is a director in my company. I'd like you to coach her. So I coached his wife. She was happy. Both of them came back and said, we are very happy with what you've done. We'd like you to coach 5 people in our company. And I think it's been the most humble experience in my life when I look back. And I think it taught me one of the most wonderful lessons about how many other bias or fears or limiting beliefs I had that I had to let go. And to look at it and say, what am I here for? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And there was no stopping after that. There was no judgment, no looking back. Anybody reached out, the question I would ask is, how can I be of help to you? And they would tell me, and I would see if it's relevant to coaching. I would get started. I'm going to pause here for a second for everyone to understand the importance of this and ask yourself, do you have some limiting beliefs? Do you have some fears? Do you have any bias or preconceived notions about what you can or cannot do? What would happen if that was to be worked upon? What would happen if you were to gently lay it down and go with what your heart is telling you to do? I was fortunate. I had this mentor to reach out to. And this was 6 years ago. And I continue to share this story, hoping it will inspire someone who's going through something similar. And then I met Ram, got through the formal program, got started. And that's how the journey began. Now, what I'm going to do now is talk about How did I build the business? What was happening behind the curtains? And I'm going to try and share as much as I can. If there are specific questions, happy to answer. The chat box is open, so I'm keeping an eye on it. In case there are questions, I'll be happy to answer that.
Sridhar, before you just start, if
Sure.
I just want to interject at this point to add value to what you said,
Sure,
along
please.
with Jack Canfield, and you mentioned Alan. In fact, there's a beautiful book by a person called Edgar Schein. Edgar Schein teaches at the MIT, and he's considered to be one of the greatest thought leaders today, along with Peter Senge and people like that. And this book is called The Humble Inquiry, Asking, Not Telling. And it's exactly what you said in different words. And you kept using this word, the humility and the humble approach. And that's exactly what he says any leader should have. Therefore, by definition, people. And the other point that I just want to sort of re-emphasize is you're absolutely right. Every this kind of an interaction becomes our own learning experience, and we grow with it, irrespective of what we start, what kind of inner fears that we have. And I'm truly glad that you're approaching from that perspective in terms of what is blocking us and how it is going to move us forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ram. Okay, so when I had the formal certifications in hand, what I did was, first and foremost, I realized I had to sit down and make a business plan, a marketing plan. And as I talk about it, maybe you may want to think about your own business, your own practice, and see how many of these are in existence for you, how many of these help you, right? So the first thing I did, and what I realized I must do, was to put a business plan. I started by asking myself, who do I want to serve? Who's the audience that could get benefits by having me as their coach? And I sat down and worked through this plan. And what I realized was, given my 20 years in the corporate world, I would be able to help somebody who's going through those kind of challenges or something similar in the corporate world. So I said, let me start with working professionals. And I put it down, I remember, as working professionals, 25 to 50 years old. And I, with my limited view of what's possible, I put down the markets as Bangalore, Bombay, Chennai, Delhi, Mumbai, and I think Calcutta. These were the 5 markets that in my mind seemed like all I could reach. And next I said, I have to have a website. I didn't have a website, and I wanted to reach out to people. So I updated my LinkedIn profile. That's the first place that I went. I updated my LinkedIn profile. I created a Twitter account. And then I went about seeking help from somebody to create a website. My first website was created by a Spanish lady living in Dubai. I found her on a website called Odesk. I don't know if Odesk still exists, but Odesk has freelancers. So you reach out to them and you say, I'd like a website designed, or I want X done or Y done. They tell you what their per hour fees are. You say, okay, and you get started. And 3 months, I think 2 or 3 months down the line, I had a website, and it more or less reflected who I wanted to be or how I wanted it to look and feel. It was a pretty basic website. It was not responsive. You couldn't view it on a mobile or a tablet then, but it looked okay on a desktop, and it did the basic job. It looked good. That's what I would say. Then I reached out on LinkedIn to somebody who could manage my web presence, and I hired an agency. I met somebody. I spoke to the person. One of the things that you read in all literature is about you work with people who have similar values. And when I look back, I think that's what happened then. And I sensed a lot of humility in this person. I sensed a lot of calmness in the person who came and met me and spoke. And he seemed to have the subject matter expertise. And he spoke about it very gently in very calm and collected manner. We got started. and he explained how he would do the search engine optimization, etc., etc. We got started, and 3-4 months down the line, I was very pleasantly surprised that on Google page 1, I was turning up for most keywords related to coaching. And then the inquiries started coming in. People would go to Google, they would look for things related to coaching. I would turn up on page 1, they would click my website, they would come to my website. There was a contact form, pretty prominent. People would fill that form. I would get an inquiry in my inbox. When I began, I was not good at this. So the inquiries would come once in a while, and I would call them once in a while. I wouldn't follow up immediately because somehow I didn't feel comfortable cold calling. So the inquiry would actually come into my inbox. It's being served on a platter, and I wouldn't call them within 24 to 48 hours. I would call them a week later. And learning number 1, people don't want to wait when they have the need. They don't want to wait for a week. If they write an email to me today, they expect me to call them back today, tomorrow, max 3 days. So that's the first thing that I learned, saying I need to respond faster. So I've set a goal for myself that 48 hours is my response time. In really challenging times, 24 hours is what I want to gun for. So the first thing I do every single day is when I get an inquiry, I reply to it. And I thank them for writing to me and expressing interest. And I promise them that I'll get in touch with them shortly. And I do get in touch with them shortly after that. So that's how that began. And I was reaching out on LinkedIn to anybody and everybody who seemed to be in the L&D space or HR. I would connect with them and I would write and say, do you have any requirements for coaching? Learning number 2, that doesn't work for me. Maybe it'll work for some of you. It didn't work for me. 6 years of doing this, my learning has been, it's my job to show up where people are looking for services like mine. Coaching can't be sold. I just have to show up where people are looking for services like mine. If they resonate with me, they will sign up with me. If they resonate with somebody else, they'll sign up with them. Now that brings us to, where do people look for people like us? Most obvious one is LinkedIn. It's a professional website. It's for professionals. At last count, if my numbers are not wrong, there are 70 million people from India on LinkedIn. Globally, I think it's a bigger number. They've been acquired by Microsoft. I don't know how that's going to pan out. All said and done, it's still one of the most needed professional sites that we can reach out to. I want to make a point on LinkedIn. I think it's important for everyone to understand this. Most people would be aware, but I think it's important I emphasize. It depends on how you see LinkedIn. If you see LinkedIn as a networking site, that's what you're going to do. You're going to go onto LinkedIn and you're going to network. If you see LinkedIn as a portal for you to share your information, that's what you're going to do. I see LinkedIn as a search engine. And I ask myself, when people go into that box at the top of the LinkedIn website or the app where there's a search box, what are they going to enter there? And I'm assuming these are people looking for coaches. These could be L&D heads, these could be HR folks, these could be CEOs, these could be executives who are looking for a coach, these could be business owners looking for a coach. What would they go and enter? And then I ask myself, does my profile contain those words? When I see LinkedIn as a search engine, I refine my website or my profile so that I can turn up on some of the early searches on LinkedIn. Number 1. Number 2, how will people know what you have to offer if you're on LinkedIn? Only when they come and visit your profile. What would make them want to visit your profile? And that's something that you want to ask yourself and see what comes up. My answer to myself was, they would want to visit my profile if there is something that is of interest to them. What would be of interest to them? Who else has worked with Sridhar? What do they have to say? So my testimonials are on my website. What certifications does he have? Is he qualified? Fair enough. What's his work background? Where has he worked? anything else that is of value to a searcher or somebody who's looking for services like ours. So when you approach it that way, you will clean up your LinkedIn profile and put stuff that matters to others, not what matters to you, because it's not about you. It's about somebody coming and viewing your profile and finding something of value there. I'm going to stop here to check. There are a couple of chats. And the tools you use as well. Sure, I'll come to that. I'll come to that a little later in the operations part of the business. I'm just spending a few minutes on the marketing part right now. Thanks, Vishek, for asking that. Okay, so that's the second part on LinkedIn. And the third important part on LinkedIn is about when you reach out to people, what's the first impression you're creating? How are you reaching out to them? What is the quality of interaction that you have? Right? Do you write a personal note after they connect with you? Do you thank them for connecting with you? So these are small little things, but they can help, right? And a fourth one probably is if you're posting on LinkedIn, whether it's your own post or you're sharing somebody else's posts, look at the quality of posts you're sharing. Is it relevant to your audience? I can't tell you the number of posts I see on LinkedIn on my wall, which has a lot of trivia. And a lot of people are sharing it. These include trainers, coaches as well. And I want you to ask yourself, if you're one of them, every time I post something, you post something, anybody else posts something, we are actually standing out there and telling people about us. So either your impression and your trust is going up or it's going down. It's never static. So everything that we share, if we can be cognizant of that and we look at it and say, how do I add value? How do I share something of value to someone else? If somebody's been actually following my work on LinkedIn, you'll observe two things. One, I share content from different websites, different leadership sites, different coaches and others. Number one. Number two, all my posts have a question from me at the top. And my idea throughout has been to provoke thinking in the reader. So if somebody looks at the post that comes from me on their wall, it would have a question. And it's usually a coaching question. Who am I? I'm a coach. What am I doing? I'm putting a coaching question out there for people to reflect on. I'm not there to give advice. I'm not there to share my opinion. I'm only there to provoke thinking in them, to push their quality of thinking, get them to become more aware. And that's what I've been doing consistently on LinkedIn all these years. In between, I was blogging regularly and I would share my blogs. Even with that, I would put a question and put the blog out there. And that's something that's fallen off the table given my workload. I'd love to get back to it. It's important. For those of you who are blogging, please continue blogging. For those of you who are not doing it, please make time. I should not be saying this because I've not made time, but I think it's important that you do. Enough research indicates that content is king. Okay. So that's on LinkedIn. Just to validate what I've shared so far, a lot of the inquiries I've got have come from LinkedIn to me. L&D people reach out to me. Startup owners have reached out. I got an engagement, I remember, in 2015, where I coached 6 leaders from a startup for a year. And the founder of the startup found me on LinkedIn, dropped a message on LinkedIn saying, hey, I like what I read. Would you have time to speak sometime? And I want you to pay attention to what I just said, right? This is a founder of a startup. He's reaching out to me and he says, would you have time to speak sometime? This is how clients approach. Now, it's easy to get carried away and say, people put us on a pedestal. That's not what I'm trying to say. I want you to understand that people are hesitant when they reached out. They don't know much about coaching. They're just looking for solutions. They're looking for someone to help. They have a challenge at the workplace. So I got in touch with this gentleman, spoke to him. He was based out of Delhi. I made a trip to Delhi, did a half-day workshop for him to understand how the process can work. I came back and he signed me up. I did a 1-year engagement, one-on-one coaching for 6 leaders. The startup would fly me down every 3 weeks to Delhi, pay for my accommodation if I had to stay back. fly me by. So LinkedIn has given value to me. It'll continue to give value. That's just one example. I've got many other inquiries from corporates via LinkedIn. Let me move on to Google. And I hope this is okay with everyone, the way I'm going about using these social media elements, how each one works, how I've used it, what you could do with it. Now, Google obviously is bigger, larger, much more powerful a search engine, and many more people are looking on it. So it's important to try and turn up on page one. And I say try and turn up because it's a hard battle, let me be honest with you. It takes a lot to get into the page one in those top 15 or 20 results that come up. So you'll need professional help. I'm aware some coaches have tried to do like I did when I started, to try to do your own SEO, to do your own internet marketing. My sincere advice to you is stick to what you're good at, which is your core, which is coaching, training, facilitation, whatever you do. Outsource this to somebody else. There are enough freelancers who can help you for a small fee. It doesn't have to be the best in the industry and the most expensive. You don't need all the fancy tools. You just need somebody who understands search engine optimization well. Don't worry if you turn up on page 2 or page 3 for now. Keep at it. Right? Now, how does it actually work? What is the way that I end up getting inquiries? Number one, whether I exist or not on Google, people are looking for coaches. People are looking in India, people are looking across the world, and they're doing it in two ways. There's a large portion of audience which needs help, and they may or may not know that a coach is the right person for them. They go into Google and they search, how do I, and fill in the blanks. How do I do X, Y, Z, right? Could be stress management, could be time management, could be how do I influence stakeholders, how do I manage my career. The how do I, there's a series of it, and people are looking. That's one large audience. The other one is people who are aware of executive life, business coaching or career coaching, go and enter those words saying career coach in Bangalore, executive coach in Bangalore, leadership coach, many of those adjectives. So if you have a website, please do the keyword research and ensure these keywords turn up on your website. If you don't have a website, please start by having a website. This is 2017. There is no excuse for not having a website. It's your store. That's where people come to view you, to understand about you, to know your background. Your credibility has to be built based on your website. And it's not expensive to get a website done. If you're not a perfectionist like me, get started with what you have and let it work for you. I have slaved away to get every font right and every color right. That's an area of development for me. But you don't have to go so far. You just have to get started and make sure that it works. Okay, so there are a couple of questions that I want to ask you. Having shared what I've shared, I'm going to pause. Ram, is that okay with you if I ask a few questions?
Yeah, please do.
Yeah. And the intent is to ask questions which may give you your own answers. First and foremost, I'd like all of you to think about it and say, are you looking at coaching as your livelihood, which is your full-time career, or is it a hobby for you? And I don't need an answer, but that's probably the first filter. If it's a livelihood, then you need to work hard, you need to work fast, you need to work smart to ensure it takes off quickly. If it's a hobby, okay, you've got your source of income coming from a job or some other business. You're okay if this grows. It's not going to impact you big time if it doesn't grow. So let me focus on the ones, the coaches here for whom it's a livelihood. Probably you've given up a career or you've been in the training or facilitation industry and you're looking to make coaching your mainstay. What can help is asking yourself, who do I want to serve? So I am aware some people coach students, some people coach students and working professionals. Some people focus only on business people. It's up to you. Go with what resonates for you. When I resigned from my job and I started this, I had no other source of income. So for me, it was a livelihood. And the question I asked myself is, who can afford my services? Who can afford to pay for my services? And hence the 25 to 50 age bracket. I've coached somebody above 50. I've coached someone under 25 too. But that's just for me to have a direction. And then I asked myself, if I'm coaching someone in 25 to 50 age group, how does the day look like? Who are these people? What's happening in their lives? What are the trends? What brands do they choose currently? Just to understand the psyche of these people in my limited interactions. And I went about asking friends, I asked other people I knew, acquaintances, to understand, how does the day go from morning to evening? What's happening? And I picked up trends. I also remember registering on a site called Nomi, Noomii. I paid, I think, about 3 months of subscription. And every time there was an inquiry for a coach, I would get an email. I didn't get any big time inquiries or any deals out of that website. I spent about $30, $40 over 3-4 months. But what I got was a ton of rich data in terms of understanding the language of coaches. So when I looked at the mails that came to me, where there were no names or numbers of people, but there was inquiries from coaches on the website saying, I'm looking for a coach for dash, dash, dash. And the fill in the blanks portion of the dash, dash, dash was where the insight was. The language of the coaches. What do they say? Or how do they go about looking for coaches? And I picked up those words, I internalized it, and I said, I must make it a part of my conversation with coaches. It must be part of my website. It must be part of my email communication or any other literature I may use. So it resonates with them. So that was another helpful source then. So once you've understood who you want to serve, next question that comes up is, where are these people looking for service providers like you? Are they looking for people like you on LinkedIn, on Google, on Facebook, on Twitter, in the print media, at exhibitions and webinars or seminars, conferences? That's up to you to identify. Where would you find these people? I've tried all of them, and my learning for myself has been to stick to what works best, what's effective, what's cost effective, what is time effective, and that is to hire a web agency, get them to do SEO, have a decent website with decent content on it, have a robust callback system, tracking system, and I'll come to all of that. Capture those leads. Over the years, I've cut down the amount of time I spend in going to conferences and seminars. Doesn't mean you should not. So if you think you'll find inquiries there of clients there, please do leverage it. I want to come to a third part in this, which is to ask yourself, how clear are you about what you want to say when someone says, tell me about yourself. How can you be of help to me? Is your pitch ready? Do you have a script for yourself? Do you know how you want to present yourself? Are you aware what you stand for? In all that you do, what would be the greatest value you'll bring to the other person? Because if you're clear about it, it's easy for you to converse and share that. It seems natural. If you're not aware, you're going to struggle. And when you struggle, the energies are going to be different. And the coachee is not going to resonate with that. None of this is to indicate that we must have a make-believe or a fake identity. It is about being clear. It's about trying to be as authentic as possible and presenting your truest self to the coach or the coachee. Some will resonate with you, most will not. That's okay. I remember C.V. Subhash is probably on the call. He's a good friend and a mentor to me, and we speak quite often. Thanks to him, I'm able to bounce off a lot of my crazy ideas with him and then kind of bring it down to on-ground implementation. So one of the things that I remember speaking to Subhash also was about when I when I look at my statistics, my data that I have over the years, I'm currently, with all humility, I'm currently at about a 35% conversion, which means for every 10 inquiries that I get, I'm able to convert 3.5, let's say 3 people. Now, the important point here is 7 people say no to me out of every 10. If I look at it and say 7 people are saying no to me, that's a lot of no's. I don't like this. I'm not going to get the rest of the 3. The way I see it, I'm glad I know if I get 7 consecutive no's, I know I have to make 3 more calls. Statistically, 3 out of 10 sign up with me. So I have to go through those 7 to get to those 3. They may be the first 3 people I call. They may be the last 3 people I call. But I have to call those 10 people to get 3 people to sign up. That's the conversion for me. Hopefully it'll be higher for you. But I'm at about 30-35% today. Okay. Again, to quickly check if there are any questions, I'm going to pause to have a sip of water. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer. Ram, just again to check if this is making sense. Is it going the way that would add value? Would you like some course correction?
It's absolutely fine, Sridhar, but you have just about 5 minutes left. So if you just want to cover what Vishy had asked, something else, yeah.
Okay, great. So let me come to the tools. I use a bunch of tools to run my business efficiently. I don't have an army of people or a team. I have an intern from time to time who helps me with my chartered accountancy work or GST and taxes and expense management, etc. Running my business, there are 3 or 4 core apps that are pillars for my business. One is something called Pipedrive. I pay about $12 a month, and I've taken a subscription called a silver plan. Pipedrive is a CRM, customer relationship management system. So this is the way it works. I get an inquiry in Google. It goes into my CRM, into pipeline. It captures the name, email, phone number. Pipedrive allows me to make notes on that about what my clients, prospects are telling me in the discovery session. So I can capture those notes to understand what the requirements are. Pipedrive gives me an opportunity to schedule next activity. So if I've spoken to Subhash today, who's a prospect, and Subhash says, please get in touch with me 3 days later, I don't want to commit it to memory. I enter it into Pipedrive then and there as I'm speaking to the prospect over the phone. 3 days later, 15 or 20 minutes or 1 hour before the time that Subhash has given me, Pipedrive will remind me that I'm supposed to speak to Subhash. So you can imagine if I'm talking about 100 plus leads or 150 leads a year, to remember what happens to each of them, because every one of them may not sign up then and there. They may say 3 days. So much so that I've had a client sign up with me 1 year after I did the discovery session. All because Pipedrive reminded me saying, so-and-so had said, get in touch with him a year later. I got in touch and the client signed up. So the way I see it, every call that I make to a prospect, I'm sowing seeds. Some of them will grow into plants. Some of them will be shrubs. Some of them will never grow. Some of them will be beautiful gardens. I don't know. My job is to continue to sow those seeds and nurture them. So that's Pipedrive. You can read about it. It's a wonderful CRM system. There are many good CRM systems. You can go with the one that resonates for you. I like Pipedrive. I've stayed with them. The second app or web service that I use for many years now is called 17 Hats. And like the name says, it has a bouquet of services under one brand or one service. So I can raise my invoices in 17 Hats and send it to my clients. I can send assignments within 17 Hats. So when the client sees his or her email, they'll get a link from me. They click on the link. It opens up into a beautiful form with questions and boxes where they can fill their answer. They don't need to print anything. They can enter all the assignment answers. They click submit. I get a link back saying, Subhash has submitted. Subhash, sorry, I'm taking a name for everything, right? So it comes up as saying, Subhash has submitted an assignment. I click on the link and I get to read how the client has answered all the assignment questions. So that's another thing. The third thing is I can do bookkeeping with it. So it allows me to connect my bank account and I get to know all the transactions that happen. I can, at the end of the quarter, end of the year, take a statement of profit and loss and send it to my chartered accountant. He does the filing. It also helps you, I think, connect leads directly. It gives you an opportunity to create projects, so workflows. There's lots that you can do with 17 hats. Again, check it out. If it's something that you like, use it. Apart from this, I use Evernote extensively for capturing all articles I read. Evernote is where all my research material goes into. I use Newton email, just to let you know. Newton email gives me the opportunity to schedule emails. So if I'm checking my evening at 7 p.m. in the evening, I can reply to all the emails and I can actually say, send it at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. And I don't need to log in. It just sends at 8 a.m. the next day or any time of the day, tomorrow, day after, 2 weeks from now, 3 months from now. I can do it today. So it again saves me time. I may not remember that day that I'm supposed to reply to somebody's mail. So this helps. For website hosting, I'm using my web services, the web agency, UDI Systems. They've been very loyal, very good to me. They're not going to work for you because I have an exclusive clause with them as a coach, but I just mentioned them. Apart from that, there is a hosting service provider called WP Engine. They're based out of the US. They specialize in WordPress hosting. They are expensive compared to the average hosting service provider. However, the reason I pay them about $500 a year for hosting is because my site loads absolutely very, very, very fast. And I look at it and say $500 over a period of 12 months, it's worth it. My site is safe, secure, because they specialize in WordPress only, and my site is on WordPress currently. It loads fast, and they take care of it. So those are my services that I use. I'm going to pause again to check questions.
Sridhar, we are almost at the end of the top of the hour. But just to add to some of the stuff that you've added, Pipe Drive, 17 Hats, and Newton, and so on, just would like to tell you, for people like you and I who spend a lot of time virtually across the world, Zoom is an absolutely super investment. It costs about $100 a year.
Yes.
I don't think anything can beat Zoom. Skype is a very, very distant replacement for that.
Absolutely.
And one of the best CRM tools that is available, and free version is available. Try it out as well. HubSpot, it's really fantastic. Then for accounting software, QuickBooks is really very, very good. It's got all the bookkeeping, invoicing, all those kind of stuff. They're all available as free versions, and you can always add a little bit more. So these are some of the things. But thank you very, very much. It's been a fascinating journey, and the way that you presented it tremendously with heart as a story. I think your coaches should learn in terms of how to tell their stories with the inbuilt emotion and the end in view, the way that you have done. It's absolutely superb. Just to reiterate, I would like to bring it to a close, and I really would like to have you again on this forum at some point in time, talk about other things that you've not had the time to present today. Just before I close now, I'd like to tell you that the next session, the next third Wednesday of the month of October, would be with Shonali. She's a startup founder in the United States, no longer a startup, doing extremely well. I started with her as a coach some years ago. Would like to have another point of view, what like Sridhar said this time, about what is it that startups need? How do we approach them? What are they looking for? What is their language? What I loved about Sridhar's thing was the coaching competency at the mastery level in terms of how do you use the client language in your own exploration. How do you use that? That's going to be an extremely significant value. And I hope that all of you would be able to attend next week. We are not going to send out certificates to you in the format that I was sending. It takes too much of effort for us. So we would probably be replying to you when you go to the website and you put in your passwords at the end of the session. And you can use that. It is just as much accepted by ICF as would certificates be. Many of the other communities of practice are doing this at this point in time. So I just would like you to be ready for that change. So please go to the website, Coacharya, both for the passwords and for the recordings and for the registration for the future. So the second part of the password, I'll just send it out to you now. It is the first part, as I said, was Laxman. The second part is Discovery. Laxman and Discovery are the passwords for this particular session. So please send them out to me in a mail and you will get a response. Try and send it within the next 1 week. From the next couple of months, when we automate the process, we may not be able to fulfill if you reply after about a week. And this time, of course, we'll make a little bit of an exception, but it's becoming too much of a, if you come after 1 month and for us to check back and then be able to do that, it's becoming too difficult for us to do that. Okay, and thank you very, very much. We are pretty much on top of the hour. And once again, Sridhar, thank you very, very much for being there. Bye.
Thank you, Ram.
Take care, all of you. See you soon in the next session. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.